Hello, friends. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. From this video lecture, I will start my discussion on adsorption. This is part number one of the discussion on adsorption, and this being the first lecture on the topic of adsorption, I have given the title Introduction to Adsorption for this discussion. So here you'll understand what is adsorption. You will know what are different types of adsorption, and then you will also know about few applications of adsorption. And the last point that I will be covering in today's discussion is the nature of adsorbents. Let me just briefly tell you at this point of time, adsorbents are the solids that are used in the operation of adsorption. I will talk more about it in my discussion. So let me just tell you the last point that I will be discussing in this video lecture is nature of adsorbents. So what is the plan for today? We will understand what is adsorption. We will know about types of adsorption. We will know few important applications of adsorption in the field of chemical engineering, and then we will also know about the nature of adsorbents that are used in the operation of adsorption. So let us start the discussion. So let us understand what is adsorption. Let us try to get an answer to this question, because at the end of this the discussion on this particular topic, you'll be able to tell what is adsorption. So let us understand what is adsorption. So adsorption is a mass transfer operation like other mass transfer operations. You have you have distillation, then you have liquid extraction, gas absorption, leaching. So like all other mass transfer operations, adsorption is also a mass transfer operation. A mass transfer operation that is used to separate the components of a fluid mixture. So when you have a fluid mixture, which could be a liquid solution or a gaseous mixture, and in order to separate components of either a liquid solution or a gaseous mixture, the operation of adsorption can be used. So adsorption, it is a mass transfer operation that is used to separate components of a fluid mixture. By a fluid mixture, we mean it could be either a liquid solution or it could be a gaseous mixture. So in adsorption, the task is to separate components of a liquid solution or a gaseous mixture. And the fluid mixture, for this, what is done, how the operation is carried out, let us understand. The fluid mixture is contacted with a solid. And what you can tell about this solid, the solid can preferentially concentrate one or more components from the fluid mixture onto its surface. So in the operation of adsorption, a fluid mixture is contacted with a solid. And this solid is not any solid. It is a solid that can preferentially concentrate one or more components from the fluid mixture onto its surface. So we are talking about those solids which have an ability to concentrate one or more components from the fluid mixture with which they are contacted. So in the operation of adsorption, the fluid mixture, a liquid solution or a gaseous mixture, it is contacted with a solid, and this solid can preferentially concentrate one or more components from the fluid mixture onto its surface. Let us move it. So when the two phases, solid phase, now there is contact of a solid phase with a fluid phase. So during this contact, what happens? One or more components from the original fluid mixture, they get preferentially concentrated on the surface of the solid. So when the fluid mixture is contacted with a solid which has an ability to concentrate one or more components from the fluid mixture onto its surface, when during their contact, what happens? One or more components from the original fluid mixture, they get preferentially concentrated on the surface of the solid. And due to this, what is happening? The components get differently distributed between the fluid and solid, the original fluid phase and the solid phase. So during the contact, when one or more components from the fluid mixture, they get preferentially concentrated on the surface of the solid, what happens? The components in the original fluid mixture, now they get differently distributed between the fluid and the solid phase. And that is, this will result, this differential distribution of the components, it will result in separation of the components that are present in the original fluid mixture. It will result in a separation to some extent. This results in separation of the components of the original fluid mixture to some extent. And what you can do, you can increase or you can enhance the degree of separation of components of the original fluid mixture. It can be enhanced. How you are going to do that? It can be enhanced by having multiple contacts of the fluid, of the two phases, solid and fluid phases. So if you allow the two phases to contact with each other multiple times, then you will be able to increase the separation, increase the degree of separation of the components that are present in the original fluid mixture. I will shortly show you the schematic diagram, then you will easily understand the operation. For time being, you just understand adsorption, which is a mass transfer operation. It is used to separate components of a fluid mixture. That is, it could be a liquid solution or a gaseous mixture. That means adsorption is used to separate components of either a liquid solution or a gaseous mixture. And in order to bring about this separation, what is done? The fluid mixture is contacted with the solid. What kind of solid is this? The solid which has an ability to preferentially concentrate one or more components from the fluid mixture onto its surface. So when you have a contact between such a fluid mixture, between the fluid mixture and such a solid, what happens? One or more components from the original fluid mixture, they get preferentially concentrated on the surface of the solid. And this results, and due to this, what happens? The components of the original fluid mixture, they get differently distributed between the two phases. Which two phases? Fluid phase and solid phase. And due to this differential distribution, there is some sort of separation of the components from the original fluid mixture. You can enhance the degree of separation by having multiple contacts of the solid and fluid phases. So I hope the concept is clear to you. You must have now understood how components of a fluid mixture, that is components of a liquid solution or a gaseous mixture, they are separated by using adsorption. So let us move ahead. Now, in order to understand the operation, we will consider a gaseous mixture of two components. Which are these two components? Component A and component B. So we have a gaseous mixture of component A and component B, and we are contacting this with a solid. And the solid that I am talking about, the solid can preferentially concentrate A. Out of the two, A and B, it can preferentially concentrate A on its surface. So we have selected such a solid which has an ability to preferentially concentrate A out of A and B. So a gaseous mixture of A and B, it is contacted with a solid. The solid can preferentially concentrate A on its surface. So I can show this schematically. So let this be the solid with which we are contacting a gaseous mixture of A and B. So you have this spheres A, all these spheres, they are representing component A, and then you have spheres representing B. Now this fluid mixture, this gaseous mixture, it is contacted with a solid, and this solid has an ability to preferentially concentrate A on its surface. So let us see what happens. So during this contact, the solid is going to preferentially concentrate A on its surface. So now you can see majority of A or most of the A is now on the surface of the solid, whereas most of the B is still in the fluid mixture. So in this way, we are able to separate A from B by using adsorption. Then by using desorption, you can be able to recover the adsorbed A, and in this way you can achieve the separation of A from B. And the separation can be enhanced, the degree of separation can be enhanced if you have multiple contacts. So the remaining gas phase, it can be contacted with a fresh adsorbent, and then during that contact little more A will be removed from the mixture. So in this way you can enhance the degree of separation. So I'm sure the simple example will help you to understand what happens during adsorption, or how adsorption is used as a separation operation. So let us move ahead. Okay, let me just finish the discussion. So the solid phase is the adsorbent. Now, new thing to remember. The solid that is used in adsorption, we call that as adsorbate. Whereas the component that gets adsorbed, the component that gets preferentially concentrated on the surface of the solid, it is called adsorbate. So in this case, A is the adsorbate. Because it is getting adsorbed, it is getting preferentially concentrated on the surface of the solid, and the solid, it is called adsorbent. So let us move ahead. Now let us understand how you can carry out this operation in chemical industry, or in an industry, on an industrial scale. How can you carry out? So it can be carried out in a stage-wise manner. That means the adsorbent phase and the fluid phase, they will be contacted in stages. So if you are using a stage-wise operation, then it could be a single stage adsorption where the fluid phase and the solid phase, they are contacted in a single stage. When you have single stage adsorption, then you can carry out it in a batch-wise manner, or you can carry out it in a continuous manner. Then you have multi-stage operation, and in that you can have multi-stage cross-current adsorption, which could either be carried out in a batch-wise manner or in a continuous manner. And then finally you have multi-stage counter-current adsorption, which has to be carried out in a continuous manner. So in my discussions on leaching and then liquid extraction, I have talked about this. I had discussed single stage operations, then I had discussed multi-stage operations, multi-stage cross-current operations, multi-stage counter-current operations. So like those operations, adsorption can also be carried out in a stage-wise manner. That is, you can carry out in a single stage, you can carry out it in multi-stage cross-current adsorption. We are going to discuss these in details. I will be discussing all this in my coming videos on adsorption. Let me just introduce to you how adsorption can be carried out. So you can have multi-stage cross-current adsorption. It could be carried out in a batch-wise manner or in a continuous manner. And then you can have multi-stage counter-current adsorption, which can be carried out in a continuous manner. Then one thing it distinguishes adsorption from or it differentiates adsorption from the other operations. So unlike other operations, which other operations? Those operations that involve contact of two insoluble phases. Distillation involving contact of liquid and vapor phases, liquid extraction involving contact of liquid two insoluble liquid phases. So unlike all these operations, unlike other operations that involve contact of two insoluble phases, adsorption is the only operation that can be carried out in a semi-batch manner. So you can carry out it in a semi-batch manner. So how is that done? In this case, the solid adsorbent phase, it is confined to a fixed bed. The adsorbent is confined to a fixed bed, and the fluid mixture, when it is allowed to flow continuously through the fixed bed, the fluid phase is allowed to flow in a continuous manner through the fixed bed. So let me just show you. So the adsorbent phase, in this case, it could be confined to a fixed bed of this sort, and let us say that you are carrying out the operation in a column. So you have a column in which there is a fixed bed of adsorbent, and then the fluid phase, it is continuously passed through the adsorbent to the bed, through the fixed bed of the adsorbent. So let me just show it correctly. So you have a fixed bed of the adsorbent. Let me just show you. And then this is confined in a column. It is confined in a column like this. And then the fluid phase, you are continuously passing through this fixed bed. So in this case, one phase is stationary, whereas the other phase is continuously flowing through the stationary phase. So this kind of operation, it is called a semi-batch operation.
Why?
So the different thing that you can note for in the case of adsorption is adsorption, it can be carried out in a semi-batch manner. So as you continue the operation, what is going to happen? Let me just erase it. I hope you have understood the schematic diagram. I'll just erase it so that I can explain the point. So when you operate, when you carry out the adsorption operation where you are continuously allowing the fluid phase to pass through the fixed bed of adsorbent. So what happens once there will be a stage that will come in where the adsorbent bed is saturated with the adsorbent, the material or the substance that is being adsorbed. So a stage will be reached when the capacity of the adsorbent bed, it gets the capacity to adsorb, the capacity to concentrate, adsorb it on its surface, it gets exhausted. So once the adsorbent bed is saturated, that means it can no longer adsorb more adsorbent onto its surface. So once the adsorbent bed is saturated with the adsorbent, what is to be done? The adsorbent bed has to be regenerated, and for doing that, first thing to do is the flow of the fluid is stopped. So once the adsorbent bed is saturated with the adsorbent, what is adsorbent? The substance that is being adsorbed. So once the adsorbent bed is saturated with the adsorbent, the flow of the fluid is stopped, and then the adsorbent bed is then regenerated, and it is made ready for the next adsorption cycle. So it is regenerated means whatever substance that is adsorbed on the adsorbent bed, it is dissolved, it is removed, it is recovered, and in this way the adsorbent bed is regenerated. I will be talking more about regeneration in my coming videos. For time being, once the bed of adsorbent gets saturated with the adsorbate, you have to regenerate it. And for regeneration, you need to stop the flow of the fluid phase and then carry out the regeneration of adsorbent bed. And once it is regenerated, it will be ready for the next adsorption cycle. And then you can again continue to the next adsorption cycle once the adsorbent bed is regenerated. So I hope the concept is clear to you. So apart from carrying out it in a stage-wise manner, you can also carry out adsorption in a semi-batch manner, which is not possible with other mass transfer operations like distillation, liquid-liquid extraction. So adsorption you can carry out in a semi-batch manner. Let us move ahead. Now, after having understood what is adsorption, how it is carried out, now let us talk about the types of adsorption. There are two different types. Let me tell you, there are two different types. And this classification is based on how adsorption occurs, how the adsorbate gets concentrated on the surface of adsorbent. Based on that, you have two different types of adsorption. So, two different types based on how adsorption occurs, that is how adsorbate gets concentrated on the surface of the adsorbent. The two types are, you have physical adsorption, which is also called van der Waals adsorption, and the second type is chemical adsorption, which is also called chemisorption, or it is called activated adsorption. So we have two different types of adsorption based on how adsorption occurs, or based on how the adsorbate gets concentrated on the surface of the adsorbent. One is physical adsorption, which the other name for that is van der Waals adsorption, and the second one is chemical adsorption, which is also called chemisorption or activated adsorption. So let us understand more about these two types. Let us first understand physical adsorption. So physical adsorption, as I said earlier, it is also called van der Waals adsorption. Why it is called so? Because van der Waals forces are involved in this particular adsorption. So physical adsorption, it is also called van der Waals adsorption, as van der Waals forces are involved in it. Van der Waals, what are these van der Waals forces? Van der Waals forces are weak intermolecular forces. Intermolecular forces of attraction between two molecules. Intermolecular forces of attraction, and they are weak. Van der Waals forces are weak intermolecular forces, and these forces are involved in the first type of adsorption, that is physical adsorption. That's why physical adsorption is also called van der Waals adsorption. Let us move it. In this case, the adsorbate molecules, they get concentrated on the surface of the adsorbate. So the adsorbate molecules, once the fluid mixture comes in contact with the adsorbate molecules, they get concentrated on the surface of the adsorbent, and this concentration is due to forces of attraction between the molecules of the adsorbate and adsorbent. I will show it schematically, then you'll understand. For time being, let us understand the adsorbate molecules get concentrated on the surface of the adsorbent due to the forces of attraction between the molecules of the adsorbate and the adsorbent. And these forces, that is forces of attraction between molecules of adsorbate and adsorbent, these forces are stronger than the forces of attraction between the molecules of the adsorbate itself. So the forces of attraction between adsorbent molecules and adsorbate molecules, when they become stronger than the forces of attraction between the molecules of the adsorbate itself, you have physical adsorption. I will shortly show you show this schematically. For time being, you understand the adsorbate molecules get concentrated on the surface of the adsorbent, and this is due to the forces of attraction between the molecules of the adsorbate and the adsorbent, and these forces are stronger. This is happening because these forces are stronger than the forces of attraction between the molecules of the adsorbate itself. So let us understand. So let me show you. This is the adsorbent, and now for the sake of understanding, I am saying that gas A is in contact with the adsorbent. Now here we are just going to understand how physical adsorption occurs. So that's why I am not showing any mixture over here. A simple single gas is in contact with the adsorbent, and now at this moment you can see there are intermolecular forces of attraction between the molecules of the adsorbent. So you have intermolecular forces of attraction between the molecules of A, and when this gas is brought close to or in contact with the solid phase, intermolecular forces of attraction between the gas molecules and adsorbent molecules, they come into picture, and a stage is reached when these forces, they become greater than these forces. The forces, intermolecular forces between molecules of adsorbate and molecules of adsorbent, they become stronger than intermolecular forces between molecules of the adsorbate itself. So when these forces become stronger, what happens? Those gas molecules, they are going to get preferentially concentrated on the surface of the adsorbent. So in this way, gas A, molecules of A, they have concentrated on the surface due to the intermolecular forces of attraction between the adsorbent and the gas molecules. So this is how physical adsorption occurs. And when you have one layer of those molecules, there will be a second layer, then there will be a third layer. That means physical adsorption can occur, can result in multiple layers of the adsorbate. So I hope the concept is clear to you. If you have any doubts, you please mention them in the comment section. Let us move on. Continuing with physical adsorption, the adsorbate does not penetrate or dissolve in the adsorbent. This is another important thing that we have to note over here. In the case of physical adsorption, the adsorbate is not going to penetrate or dissolve in the adsorbate, but it just remains on the surface. It just remains on the surface. The adsorbate molecules, they can be easily removed. So once adsorbed, and if it is physical adsorption, then the adsorbate molecules, they can be easily removed from the surface of the adsorbent. So that is another distinguishing feature of physical adsorption. So the adsorbate molecules, they can be easily removed from the surface of the adsorbent. Why it is possible? It is possible because only weak van der Waals forces are involved in physical adsorption. So therefore, due to this, we can say that, or it is true that physical adsorption is a readily reversible phenomenon. By readily reversible phenomenon, we mean that we are able to recover the adsorbate as it was present in the original fluid mixture. So there is no physical transformation, there is no chemical transformation of the adsorbate. So that's why physical adsorption, it is a readily reversible phenomenon. And this is important. This is important for the recovery of adsorbent for reuse. So if you remove the adsorbed material, if you remove the adsorbate from the surface of the adsorbent, you could use the adsorbent in another adsorption operation. So this readily reversible nature of physical adsorption, it is important for the recovery of the adsorbent for reuse and it is important for the recovery of the adsorbed substance, which is nothing but the adsorbate. So that means it is easy for you to reuse the adsorbent. It is easy for you to recover the adsorbed substance. Why it is possible? It is possible because physical adsorption is a readily reversible phenomenon. Why it is a readily reversible phenomenon? Because only weak van der Waals forces are holding those adsorbed molecules of adsorbate on the surface of adsorbent. So it is a readily reversible phenomenon, and it is important for recovering the adsorbent for reuse. It is also important for recovering the adsorbed substance, that is the adsorbate. And it is also important for fractionation of mixtures. So if you have to fractionate a mixture of fractionate a fluid mixture containing multiple components, then this phenomenon, this nature, readily reversible phenomenon, readily reversible nature, it is useful. So for recovery of the adsorbent, for recovery of the adsorbate, for fractionating a fluid mixture, this is useful. Now heat of adsorption is low. In the case of physical adsorption, heat of adsorption is low. What is heat of adsorption? Heat of adsorption is nothing but the heat released or adsorbed when a substance is adsorbed on the surface of adsorbent. The heat released or absorbed when a substance is adsorbed on the surface of the adsorbent. You please understand it carefully. So when adsorbate gets adsorbed on the surface of the adsorbent, then there are two possibilities. One is heat could be released or heat could be absorbed, and this heat is called heat of adsorption. And if it is physical adsorption, heat of adsorption is low. So heat of adsorption is low, that is the heat released or absorbed when a substance is adsorbed on the surface of the adsorbent. So I hope it is clear to you. Let us continue. Okay. That ends our discussion on physical adsorption. Now let us talk about chemical adsorption. So chemical adsorption, it is also called chemisorption. It is also called activated adsorption. You have two other names for chemical adsorption. And what is the peculiarity of this type of adsorption? There is a chemical interaction between adsorbate and the adsorbent. There is actual chemical interaction. The adsorbent and the adsorbate actually react chemically in this type of adsorption. So there is a chemical interaction between the adsorbate and the adsorbent, and due to this chemical interaction transforms the adsorbate into a substance with a different chemical nature. So as there is a chemical interaction, what happens? The adsorbed substance gets chemically transformed. So the adsorbed substance, when it was originally present in the mixture, the chemical nature in that case, and the chemical nature when it is adsorbed on the surface, the two chemical natures are different. You have different chemical natures. So there is a chemical interaction between the adsorbate and the adsorbent. That's why it transforms the adsorbate into a substance which is different, which has a different chemical nature. So you will never be able to recover the adsorbed substance in its original form in the case of chemical adsorption. In the case of physical adsorption, it was possible to recover adsorbate in a form, in its original form, because there is no any chemical transformation involved in the case of physical adsorption. But in the case of chemical adsorption, as there is a chemical interaction, there is transformation of the adsorbate. It transforms the adsorbate into a substance with a different chemical nature. But even in most of the times, mostly when you have chemical adsorption, there is no any identifiable chemical compound that is formed in the interaction. So when I say there is chemical interaction between adsorbate and adsorbent, so this chemical interaction is not going to produce any identifiable chemical compound. You'll have a substance that is chemically different from the original substance, but you'll not get any identifiable chemical compound that is found during this chemical interaction. So that is another important point that you have to remember. No any identifiable chemical compound is formed in this chemical interaction. So I hope the concept is clear to you. So thus adsorbate is kept on the surface by strong chemical bonds, but in a different form. So in the case of chemical adsorption, when you have the adsorbate onto the surface of the adsorbent, it is entirely different from its original form. So now it has transformed into a different chemical substance, which may not be an identifiable chemical compound. It is the only thing is it is chemically different from its original form. So the adsorbate is kept on the surface, and how it is kept, as in the case of physical adsorption, big van der Waals forces were involved. In this case, there is chemical bonding between adsorbate and adsorbent, and this chemical bonding holds the adsorbed substance onto the surface of the adsorbent. I hope this is clear to you. So let me show you. So you have the adsorbent, and let us say that we are contacting this with a single gas, and now it is transferred to the surface. There is chemical bonding between the adsorbent and the adsorbate, and now it is getting transformed into a different substance. Now you have altogether new substance X, which has a different chemical nature from A. So this is how chemical adsorption occurs. Now you will no longer be recover A from the surface of the adsorbent. You will be getting X, even though you carry out desorption. Desorption, let me tell you, this is opposite of adsorption. So even if you carry out desorption, you will not be able to get A. You will be able to get X, which is totally different from A. So that is the peculiarity of chemical adsorption. So let us move on. Okay, continuing with chemical adsorption, the heat of adsorption is usually large. In the case of physical adsorption, it was low, but in the case of chemical adsorption, it is usually large. So heat of adsorption, as I said, the heat absorbed or released with adsorption, that is heat of adsorption. And in the case of chemical adsorption, this heat of adsorption, it is of the order of heat of reaction. It is almost equal to heat of reaction. So that is another important thing that you have to note for the chemical adsorption. Chemical adsorption is usually an irreversible phenomenon. Just as physical adsorption was a reversible phenomenon, chemical adsorption is not it is an irreversible phenomenon. It is usually an irreversible phenomenon. So when you carry out desorption, on desorption, a substance that is chemically different from the original substance is obtained. That is in the previous example where A was transformed to X, and you are able to recover X, not A, by using desorption. So that's why I'm saying on desorption, a substance that is chemically different from the original substance, it is obtained. So that's why it is usually an irreversible phenomenon. Chemical adsorption is particularly important in the field of catalysis. So chemical adsorption it is particularly important in the field of catalysis. So we are not going to discuss about catalysis in this particular discussion, but you just remember chemical adsorption, it is important in the field of catalysis. So let us move ahead. Sometimes there is a possibility where both physical and chemical adsorption can occur. Let me tell you, chemical adsorption, it results in formation of monolayer of, there is only one layer of the adsorbed substance. So you'll get a single layer, and further adsorption can occur, but that will be simply physical adsorption. So chemical adsorption, it will result in a single layer of the adsorbed substance. Then after that, there can be physical adsorption. So sometimes both physical and chemical adsorptions, they can occur at the same time. This is also a possibility. Physical and chemical adsorption both can occur at the same time. That is, a same substance can undergo physical adsorption at a lower temperature and chemical adsorption at a higher temperature. A same substance which is being adsorbed, it could be undergoing physical adsorption at lower temperatures, and it could undergo chemical adsorption at higher temperatures. So that's why I am saying sometimes both physical and chemical adsorption can occur at the same time. In this case, a same substance can undergo physical adsorption at a lower temperature and chemical adsorption at a higher temperature. So that is a possibility. Okay, now I will briefly differentiate between physical and chemical adsorption. So we will write points, corresponding points in a tabular form in order to distinguish or in order to differentiate physical adsorption and chemical adsorption. So I will write points for physical adsorption in this column and then points for chemical adsorption in this column. In the case of physical adsorption, we have weak van der Waals forces. Weak van der Waals forces are involved. In the case of chemical adsorption, strong chemical bonding is involved. Then in the case of physical adsorption, only physical interaction between the adsorbate and the adsorbent, whereas in the case of chemical adsorption, there is chemical interaction between the adsorbate and the adsorbent. And in the case of physical adsorption, there is no transformation in the chemical nature of the adsorbate. And in the case of chemical adsorption, adsorbate is transformed into a new substance. It is transformed into a substance that has altogether a different chemical nature. And in the case of physical adsorption, low heats of adsorption are involved. And in the case of chemical adsorption, we have large heats of adsorption. These are of the order of heat of reaction. Physical adsorption, it is a readily reversible phenomenon, whereas chemical adsorption, it is an irreversible phenomenon. Then in the case of physical adsorption, desorption gives the same original adsorbate, whereas in the case of chemical adsorption, desorption gives a substance that is altogether different from the original adsorbate. So in this way, you can write some differentiating points or some points that will differentiate physical adsorption from chemical adsorption. So I hope you'll be able to write, if somebody tells you to write differentiation between physical and chemical adsorption, you'll be able to write at least this important points. You can add more points to this based on your understanding. But these points will help you understand what is the difference between physical adsorption and chemical adsorption. So let us move ahead. Now we will talk about the applications of adsorption. Important applications. First, we will understand applications, or we will know about applications in the field of gaseous separations. So adsorption is used to dehumidify air and other gases, that is to remove water vapor from air and other gases. So this is one application in the field of gaseous separation. So in the field of gaseous separation, adsorption is used first to dehumidify air and other gases, to remove objectionable odors and impurities from industrial gases like CO2. So if industrial gases like CO2 contains any objectionable odors or objectionable gases components that give undesirable smell, undesirable odor to the gas, you will be able to remove those gases by using adsorption. Plus, you will be able to remove impurity gases from those industrial gases like CO2, carbon dioxide. Then adsorption is also used to recover valuable solvent vapors from dilute mixtures with air and other gases. So when you are using solvent either in liquid extraction or in leaching and in the operation, since the solvent, if it is volatile, it would be easily vaporizing, and the vapors will be then getting added to the air or any other gases. And if the solvent is valuable, if the solvent is costly, it would be economically, in order to make the operation economically viable, we need to recover those solvent vapors. And for recovering those solvent vapors, you can use adsorption. So to recover valuable solvent vapors from dilute mixtures with air and other gases, you can use adsorption. Then you can use adsorption to fractionate mixtures of gases from components, mixture of gases containing components such as methane, ethane, ethylene, propane, and propylene. So when you have mixture of these gases, you'll be able to separate these components. We'll be able to fractionate the mixtures by using adsorption. Then adsorption is also used to produce nitrogen and oxygen from air. And in this case, the production rates, of course, will be moderate. So how it is done? Some adsorbents can preferentially adsorb N2 from air. So you'll be able to separate nitrogen from air. So this generates O2 rich gas containing 95 mole percent of O2. So when you are adsorbing nitrogen from the air, you'll be getting oxygen rich air that will be containing almost 95 mole percent of oxygen. And then if you regenerate the adsorbent, you'll be able to get the nitrogen rich gas. Nitrogen which was earlier adsorbed on the surface of the adsorbent, you'll be able to recover it when you regenerate the adsorbent. Then adsorption is also used to remove pollutants such as H2S, CS2 and other odorous compounds from air circulating, the air that is circulating in ventilation systems. So you'll be able to remove these pollutants, H2S, CS2 and any other odorous compounds from the air that could be used in or that is circulated in ventilation systems. These were various applications in the field of gaseous separations. Now let us look at the applications in the field of liquid separation. So in the field of liquid separation, adsorption is used for removal of water dissolved in gasoline. If water is dissolved in gasoline, then you can remove it by using adsorption. Then you can use it for decolorization of petroleum products, vegetable oils, and even aqueous sugar solutions. So in order to remove unwanted colors from petroleum products, vegetable oils, and aqueous sugar solutions, you can think of using adsorption. Then adsorption is also used for removal of objectionable odor and taste from water. So objectionable components that give bad smell to water and bad taste to water, you can recover or you can remove them by using adsorption. Then adsorption can also be used for the fractionation of mixtures of aromatic and paraffinic hydrocarbons. So in order to separate aromatic and paraffinic hydrocarbons, again you can use adsorption. Then adsorption is also used in the removal of organic components from aqueous wastes. So when you have aqueous waste containing organic components, you can remove those organic components by using adsorption. Then adsorption can also be used for removal of water from organic liquids, then to recover reaction products that cannot be separated by other methods. Sorry. So when you have reaction products and when you don't have any suitable operation for separating those products, then you can go for adsorption. Then you can use adsorption for removal of fermentation products from fermenter effluents. So these are the applications liquid separation. So that ends our discussion on applications. We had understood applications in the field of gaseous separations, and then we understood the applications in the field of liquid separation. Now, let us go to the last topic for today's discussion, nature of adsorbents. So, the adsorbents are generally the industrial adsorbents. These are generally available as irregular granules like this, or they are available in the form of extruded pellets, or they are available in the form of formed spheres. So, industrial commercial adsorbents, they could either be available as irregular granules, or they could be available as extruded pellets like this, or they could be available as formed spheres like this. The solids that you are going to use as adsorbent, they must possess some engineering properties. Which are these desirable engineering properties? Let us understand. When you are using this adsorbents in fixed beds, they should not offer too great pressure drop for the flow of the fluid phase. So when you are using the adsorbents in a fixed bed, then those adsorbents should not offer high pressure drop to the flow of fluid phase. And then they must not be easily carried away by the flowing fluid stream. So when they come in contact with the flowing fluid stream, they should not be easily carried away by the flowing fluid stream. They must have adequate strength and hardness. Strength is required so as not to be reduced in size during handling. So when you are handling the adsorbent material, they should not be reduced, they should not be damaged. That is, they should have adequate strength and they should have adequate hardness. The strength will also help. If they are strong, they will not be crushed in supporting their own weight. So when you are using them in a fixed bed, and if they are strong, they will not be crushed due to their own weight. So if you are using the material in adsorbent beds like this, then the adsorbent that is present at the bottom, it will not get crushed due to the weight of the adsorbent that is above this bottom adsorbent particles. So if the solid is strong, if it has adequate strength and hardness, then this crushing is avoided. So these desirable engineering properties are required for those solids which can be used as adsorbents. And then the solids must be free flowing if you have to transport them frequently. Now these engineering properties are in addition to the actual or the most desirable property for adsorbent. What is that? Ability to adsorb, ability to concentrate some substances onto their surface. This is the main thing. And apart from this, if you are using adsorbent in fixed beds, then they should have all this desirable engineering properties. So let us move ahead. When continuing with the same topic, nature of adsorbents, only certain solids exhibit sufficient specificity and adsorptive capacity. Not all solids will have the specificity and adsorptive capacity. There are only certain solids. Only those solids will make them useful as industrial adsorbents. So the point is, only certain solids exhibit sufficient specificity and adsorptive capacity to make them useful as industrial adsorbents. The adsorption characteristics of an adsorbent, it depends on the chemical nature of the solid. It also depends on the method of manufacturing the adsorbent, how the adsorbent is manufactured, how the adsorbent is prepared. So method of manufacturing of the adsorbent and prior history of adsorption and desorption. So if you have used it earlier, so that will also have effect on the adsorption characteristics of the adsorbent. So chemical nature, method of manufacture, and prior history of adsorption and desorption. So every adsorbent, it should have certain desirable features. Apart from the engineering properties, there are other features also that are required in every adsorbent, which are this. Let us understand: large surface area per unit weight, because that will give large surface for the adsorbent to get adsorbed. So first important requirement is adsorbent should provide large surface area per unit weight. Then the area should be accessible through pores big enough to admit the molecules being adsorbed. So, and if the surface is porous, then the pore opening should be big enough to allow the molecules of the substance that is getting adsorbed. So that's why the area should be accessible through pores big enough to admit the molecules being adsorbed. The adsorbent should be capable of being easily regenerated. There should be no problem with regeneration, so that if there are problems, then it will be difficult for you to reuse it. And if those adsorbent can be easily regenerated, then you can reuse and the operation will be more economical. Then the adsorbent should not lose the adsorptive capacity through continual recycling. So if you are recycling the adsorbent, if you are regenerating it many times, so during multiple regenerations, the adsorbent should not lose its adsorptive capacity. That is another important requirement. Then the adsorbent should possess the desirable engineering properties, which I discussed it just now. So apart from having all these properties, the important thing is those adsorbents should also have all the desirable engineering properties. So with this, I end my discussion for today, where I have discussed what is adsorption, I have discussed types of adsorption, I have discussed application of adsorption in the field of gaseous separation and liquid separation, and finally I talked about nature of adsorbents. So I hope you have learned something. In my next video, I will be talking about different types of adsorbents that are being used in chemical industries. So with this, I will end my discussion for today's video. Thanks for watching my video. Do subscribe to my channel. If you have any doubts, you please mention them in the comment section. Hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified as soon as I upload any new video on my YouTube channel. Do subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends to subscribe to the channel. For now, thank you. Have a nice day and hope to see you soon in my next video.